again to the Sticky Wicket podcast. This is the weekly show about the wonderful world of international cricket by 4 fans of the game, produced for other fans of the game. I'm Joe. I'm, as always, joined here by Marnie. G'day, mate.
Hi, Joe. How are you?
And Cheese. Good evening.
Good evening.
And Ed. How you doing, mate?
Evening, Joe.
And on the show this week, we're going to be talking about a couple of further developments in the India-Australia Test match series, a new call-up for Australia and a couple of enforced changes for them. New Zealand, South Africa, the first Test match was washed out. We'll talk to Cheese a little bit more about what comes next for them. Marty's going to be doing the quiz this week, and we will then talk about some England news this week. There's no England cricket as such going on at the moment, but there is the North versus South inaugural competition that kicks off on Friday in the Middle East, so we'll be discussing the major players involved there and their chances for the England setup for the Champions Trophy. There's also some more news to discuss coming out of Pakistan this week. There's another player who has been suspended in a match-fixing scandal there, and some new rules brought out from the MCC about bat sizes and red cards coming into the game. As always, we'd like to get everybody's thoughts. You can find us on Twitter at CricketPod is the way to find us there, and please search for us on Facebook and the SoundCloud and iTunes, and you can subscribe to us there and get every podcast sent directly to your phone or tablet each week. But we'll start this week going back to India. Obviously, we had a podcast quite late last week, and we sort of went through all the fireworks that had come out of the second test there. There's been some changes in the Aussie camp this week. Marty, tell us what's happening.
Yeah, that's right, Joe. I think when we were speaking last week, we did discuss the issues with Mitch Starc, which was very unfortunate.
Oh, yeah, he'd just gone home, I think, when we last spoke.
That's right, and we were talking about the options of who might replace him. And I think I mentioned that one of the options that was being thrown around was to bring back Pat Cummins, and sure enough, the next day, I woke up in the morning to find out that indeed had happened. Yeah, which is interesting. I think most Australian cricket fans, and perhaps even cricket fans in general, would love to see this young man running around the cricket pitch. You know, a guy that can bowl at 150 and move the ball, and he's a decent batter as well. Is he? I
didn't know that.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, so I think I'm not sure his average is, but I think it's in the 20s. So he's a decent batsman.
So tell us what happened to him first time round then, because I think he came out today saying like this week feels like his second debut.
Well, that's right. I mean, in his first match, I think he's just turned 18, I think, and was the tour of South Africa. Obviously 5-6 years ago now, when he sort of burst onto the scene as this young, tearaway. And I think he got 7 wickets in that match, and also got the winning runs, and ended up being man of the match on his debut, and then unfortunately got an injury as a result of that match, and just had a repeated bout of injuries following that. And obviously, given the concerns with Pattinson and Starc and so forth, they decided to take a very, very, very conservative approach, given they sort of see him, I guess, as a 10-year bowler.
Right, okay. So was he bowling at 150 when he was 18?
He was indeed.
Really?
He's incredible.
How tall is he? Is he massive?
He's reasonably tall. I remember when he first came onto the scene, he looked, he just looked quite young. I mean, he was young. He was 18. But yeah, he's a reasonably tall man. I don't think he's quite as tall as Starc, but he's still a tall bloke.
Starc must be very tall. Yeah,
fancy facing that down on the local park. You wouldn't be that interested, eh?
You imagine at 18.
I'd tip the bails.
Crazy.
Walk off.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Oh, you just wouldn't turn up, would you?
It's not fun anymore.
People at that level forget their helmets. You wouldn't fancy that, would you?
Not ideal.
Yeah, it was quite interesting to actually read from James Pattinson. Obviously, we mentioned as well that he took 5 wickets last week in the Shield match to get Victoria into the final. Yeah. And he came out and said he actually asked not to be considered for the India series. Again, for the same reasons, because they're all trying to get themselves ready for the Ashes at the end of the year.
Just trying to stay out of trouble.
That's correct, yeah, that's right. And I think that when Cummins was questioned on this point, his view was, look, if but they're trying to get into the Shield final where he'll end up bowling 25, 30 overs per innings. I mean, that's likely. Yeah. Especially against Victoria.
Okay.
No, but sure and his view is if you go to India, it's likely to be bowling less of a workload anyway. The heat.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's if depending on what the pitch is prepared like this time, it's not going to be a long game potentially anyway. Plus, the vast majority of the workload is done by the 2 spinners. Well,
that's correct. And I think I did see something in the papers at home about the fears that the pitch again was going to be a little bit like the first one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much.
I can't understand why.
Well, I don't know how much that is just the Australian media just having a bit of a beat up.
Do you like whinging about opposition doctoring? Don't you?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I mean that's with good cause too.
Maybe occasionally.
So look, that's I think there's a reasonable chance he may even walk straight back into that game. I mean,
I was going to say, so is there not a backup seamer in the squad?
Yeah, there is. There's what's his name? Bird, is it?
Jackson Bird.
Jackson Bird, yeah, of course, yeah. So he's the backup seamer, but I think as we've previously discussed with him, he's seen as a bit of a backup.
Yeah.
He's definitely a third seamer.
This is a big test match as well.
Well, it is too. And I mean, if you
huge
need
now.
a strike bowler, then Cummins fits the mould.
Considering
Certainly
it's
more than
Stark that's
Hazelwood and
dropped
Bird.
out.
Yeah, that's right. So
if it was any other bowler, you think the Bird would have got the nod?
potentially. Yeah,
What's the point of him being there if he's not going to get the nod?
Well, I think they would have taken the view that maybe there might be a seaming deck.
Well, if Hazelwood would have dropped out, maybe.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah, if it was Hazelwood who got injured, who's more of the seam bowler,
Right,
just a line and length bowler, then potentially he would have. Right. But given we use Stark as just a, like the old Mitchell Johnson role, to try and throw a few bounces here and try and blast.
And if he is getting used as a 3 or 4 over man like they use Johnson, then he might be right.
Well, he might be, and well, hopefully. I mean, I really want to see him walk out for that first Ashes test.
Story.
I think I said it last Friday. I reckon it'd be awesome. It'd be great to see him coming in, bowling 5 or 6 really fast overs on those wickets. It's ideal. You don't want another bloke that's just going to sort of kiss the deck and move it around a little bit because you're not going to.
Yeah, you don't need them to bowl 8 or 10 over spells.
Well, that's right. I mean, I was reading an interesting article this morning. I'm talking, obviously, looking forward to the Ashes, about the potential of actually playing 5 bowlers, mainly on the basis that Mitch Marsh is, well...
I was going to say, I mean, you've lost...
Well, he's injured, isn't he? We'll call him injured. But look, the idea of potentially moving up a Wade up to 6, and given the average of the batting average of all those bowlers is actually quite strong. If you include Stark and Cummins and Hazelwood and probably Pattinson as well, they're all got an average of around 20 or so.
4 of those seamers in the same time.
That's right. So they're I mean, you never call them all rounders, but they're a pretty solid lower order.
If they're all averaging 25 though, that's pretty good.
Well, it is
from 7, 8, 9, 10.
Absolutely,
that's all right. Isn't it?
I think especially Stark, who's looking like a better batsman the older he gets. So that's the one. I guess the one call for the selectors coming up. The other one, of course, is the all-rounder position. If you want to call it that, the black hole of the Australian team. That's probably more aptly said. Now, obviously, Mitch Marsh has got injured after bowling his 3 overs, and he's making his 13 runs. So the question is, who are they going to bring back in? Now, they brought in Stoinis, who's a Victorian. He bats number 3 in Victoria. His record isn't great. He's got a pretty average record for Victoria this year. I think about 17 he's averaging in the Shield. But what he did do is he came in against New Zealand and made that 146 in the one-day match. He did only a couple of months ago. So he's obviously in the selectors' eye at the moment.
And again, have they not got a backup?
Faulkner? He could bowl all sorts of cutters and various things.
Yeah, they could. I don't think he'd ever been seen as more of a test player. I agree.
Because his India.
No, I agree. I mean, the other one's Maxwell, who's obviously in the squad at the moment.
Isn't he? Yeah.
He is in the squad. I mean, he's got probably a better batting record, only slightly, mind you, than Stoinis. But I guess if they're looking for a like for like replacement, because Stoinis bowls sort of right arm medium, which is probably similar to what Mitch Marsh was bowling by the time he got injured, about 120k, I think. Whereas Maxwell's going to bowl his offies.
Okay.
So
couldn't bring in a nicer bloke than Glenn Maxwell just to add to all the fire as well, eh? No wonder they haven't selected him, eh? They're a bit worried about the heat that's coming out of that series.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not sure who I prefer, to be honest. I mean, I was thinking before the series I'd like to see Maxwell given a go over there. I mean, he has before and he didn't go very well. But yeah, I think Stoinis would be an interesting choice. I mean, he hasn't probably got the runs on the board this year, but he's obviously earmarked as being a player of the future.
I'll never forget Maxwell at Eden Park in that round robin World Cup game when we were only chasing 150. And we lost quick wickets. We needed like 10 runs or something. We were 9 down, and Glenn Maxwell comes back to the crowd, and he's giving us all the choker sign. And obviously, we went on to win Williams and hit that 6 straight over the bowler's head. It was brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely
Brilliant. You couldn't believe it.
He doesn't mind winding people up, does he?
Well, he was getting grief all day, to be fair, and it was a little bit personal. But
you said Eden Park is
great. It's
quite a brutal place to be a fielder, away fielder.
It is, and that was just funny to see because you hear these things about Glenn Maxwell. No, I mean, who knows, but. You hear that he can be a bit of hard work, so to see him get his comeuppance that afternoon was good anyway.
Yeah, but like you say, I mean, another fiery character into this series is
mate, it could be a good thing for trouble. I was hearing Matthew Wade the other day sort of saying, look, we're not afraid to sort of get in there and mix it with them if that's how they want to play it. That's what we're going to be like. So it'll be interesting to see the attitude they come out with.
Oh, I think so indeed. I mean, if that's how the Indians want to play, and I admire them for doing that to a certain extent.
Yeah,
to go out there and really fight for what they what they want. Then that's up to the Australians then to match that. Yeah. And hopefully that brings on a really good third test, which is starting in a couple of days.
Yeah. I mean, Yeah, they love it, don't they? Both sides. They love having a big go at each other. There's no doubt about it. I mean, the Ashes has it, I guess, now and again. The last Ashes Down Under had it, but it seems to be every time, doesn't it? Every time Australia, I think it seems to be more every time Australia go to India, isn't it?
Well, no, I think it goes both ways.
Has it?
Absolutely.
Has it been equal over the years?
Absolutely. I mean, you remember when was it, about 2007, 2008, when the Indians basically, after the second test, I think it was, almost tried to go home. And
Was that the racism thing?
Maybe. I'm not sure if that was the racism. It was about the umpire.
There was an Andrew Simons issue as well.
No, that was Harbhajan Singh,
That
wasn't
was
it?
Harbhajan.
That was
Quite a while ago.
That was
Hey, that's the
Harbhajan.
third week in a row Harbhajan's been brought up.
Yeah, but they ended up with the change of the umpires because
right?
they weren't happy with some of the calls.
Right. Okay.
So that was only a few years ago.
They should
So
have
there's
had
been a
DRS.
number of things over the years.
Oh dear. Yeah. Well, I can't wait for it. Is that Thursday or Friday this week?
No, it's Thursday. Thursday morning our time. So
Yeah.
Thursday.
It's going to be a.
Well, hopefully. I mean, look, it has the potential, I guess, that India to come out and do what we.
Yeah, especially if you've got two spinners who are confident.
Yeah,
I
true.
think that makes a huge difference.
Absolutely.
Because we never did in this week, isn't he?
Yeah, it was quite interesting actually. Just making a comment on the Stevens with the ball tampering in
Yeah.
inverted commas.
So this is when he was sucking a sweet effectively whilst
Yeah.
he was fielding and using it to shine up the ball.
Yeah.
By sticking his finger in his mouth basically and rubbing the sugar on it.
Yeah.
And then and he got, was it fined and banned or just fined?
Yeah.
He got
what did he get? He got. Let's have a look here. Level 2 offence, whatever that means.
Right. Okay.
Got 100% of his match fee taken, and also 2 demerit points. Again, God knows what demerit points.
I
mean.
think
If you get 10 of them, you can't drive. It's just double
I think
whammy.
there was a if you get to 6 or 8 or something, then you get a match ban or something like that.
Right. Okay. So,
So,
that's a fairly minor.
Yeah,
kind
I
of slap
guess
on the
so,
wrist,
yeah.
really, isn't it? I mean,
So
For altering the state of the ball. It's
well,
not like
it was ball tampering.
That's
yes,
argu-
exactly. Smith had a one-off. It wasn't good, but it was kind of a one-off moment. Like, he's actively trying to alter the state of the ball to affect the game in the longer run. I mean,
But I think that
he should
the-
keep his nose out of it.
The jury's out. I think that's what he's saying. The jury's out on whether that was actually doing it or not. He was just sort of saying-
that's his opinion. My opinion is if you're doing that,
Yeah.
you're artificially altering the state of the ball.
I
aren't you?
agree.
He was
I
certainly
100%
trying
agree.
to anyway.
Yeah.
Which I guess is the whole,
And
the
it's
whole
against the
point.
spirit of the game. Yeah.
Yeah.
100% agree. 100% agree.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so on that note, then South Africa playing again this week. That's Thursday or Friday as well, isn't it, in New Zealand?
Thursday start in New Zealand, yeah. Second test match in Wellington. I was just listening, obviously talking about Australia and the depth of cricketers that they've got there. Geez, we'd love to have that down in New Zealand, no? But we're obviously coming off the back of a somewhat decent result. It's a shame that last day didn't get played, but arguably we were the better of the teams out of that game.
It was a really good
Apart
test
from
match.
Elgar.
Apart from Elgar, yep.
I mean, Wagner bowled really well.
Wagner
I was
bowled very well,
impressed
yeah.
with him, He bowled fast bounces as well.
Yeah.
Really
It
got
was
them through.
It was a good game. So we move up to Wellington. We've lost Ross Taylor. He's out for the next test match. It's a big loss. They've brought in Neil Broom, who's a good Derbyshire man, Ed.
Deary me, you're in trouble then.
Mate. Well, he's coming off the back of 2 ducks in the one-day series,
There you
pretty
go.
much first and second ball. But he did score runs in the last test series against Bangladesh. He's got an average of 45 or 50 this year in first-class cricket. The controversy is Colin Munro's got an average of 95 in first-class cricket, and overall in first-class cricket averages 50 to 60 consistently every year, and they've overlooked him. And since they overlooked him, he's been banned for a match by New Zealand cricket because he got in a verbal stoush with a bloke called Andy Ellis in a first-class game last week
Really?
against Christchurch. Yeah, Colin Munro's got a bit of a temper on him when he gets out there on the park, but
Is that why they didn't pick him up, do you think? Has he got the...
well,
He's a bit
I
too highly strung for the whole thing?
I don't know. I think it may just be that they don't see him as a Test cricketer.
Right.
But I think
Despite
that we don't know. But maybe the frustration of that's getting to him a little bit, and he's kind of going, "Well, I'm 30 years old now.
Yeah.
I could go off and play Big Bash and IPL potentially, and all these other leagues. What's the point in me staying around and playing first class cricket, getting paid $1,000 for a sort of 4-day game anymore if I'm
He'll
getting
be on a
overlooked?"
coal pack next.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Well, he's already in New Zealand on a coal pack pretty much, so he
Right,
can have that.
Is he South African?
He's South African,
Oh,
yeah.
well, there you go. When he's had enough, he'll be over to England.
Yeah, well, mate, yeah. I
Double
suppose it
coal
is what
pack.
it is,
I wonder
but-
if anyone's ever done that. Renounced it twice. All
The
right, I want to go there because
ECB wouldn't
whatever the
accept
problems
him,
in
would
South
it?
Africa, and then you get to New Zealand and go, actually, no, I don't like it here either. I'll go to England and get paid $100,000 a year there.
Mate, well, I mean, it's an interesting one. It's a very interesting one. I mean, he scores a lot of runs in first-class cricket. but he always plays at Eden Park. The argument is Eden Park is extremely flat deck. He scored like 3 double tons or something like that, so he's obviously prolific. But they've favoured Neil Broome. I think probably Dean Brownlee would have gotten ahead of both of them if he hadn't been injured. He's been averaging about 40 or 50 this year as well, and he scored runs against South Africa in the one-day series. So they said they went for Broome because Broome had already seen South Africa this series, and that's what they were preferring to go for, that kind of experience. But also it looks like...
But you got 2 ducks.
Yeah, it didn't seem much.
So he'd hardly seen them.
Yeah, and he's not seen them in a good light, so I'd go the other way.
Well, look, like we talked about, the depth of New Zealand cricket, I mean, what else are we going to do about it? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it also looks like Bolt, they're not making a decision on Bolt until just before the game starts as well. So Southey comes back in.
Right.
They'll not play 2 spinners again, will they?
No, well, they're expecting a bit more of a seaming deck there. South Africa are flowing over another spinner as fast as possible as well, because it was interesting. Du Plessis said that they've been really surprised by how much the pitches are turning in New Zealand compared to what they used to as well. So they're flying over one who's not going to be available until the 3rd test at Hamilton, which turned a lot during those one-day games. So really interesting selection on how you balance your bowlers.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
And it might be, if it comes down to the morning of the game, they'll make those calls, and that might have a huge deciding factor on the game, I guess.
I mean, if Bolt's fit, you've got to play Bolt.
Yeah.
You have to play Bolt, and that would probably mean that Henry misses out, so they play Bolt, Southey, Santner is your spinner, Neesham, Wagner, and then Williamson to bowl a few overs if they need to. So
is Williamson banned? Is he back?
No, he's back, I think.
No, he's been bowling for years. He's one of the best off spinners in the world.
Yeah. Well, Yorkshire missed him when he was at Yorkshire. He went halfway through the season. I think he got banned. It was a nightmare. He started the season taking more wickets than Rashid, and then
he was banned for a while, wasn't he?
Yeah. I think he's back now, but yeah, he is
definitely back. Yeah, he bowls the odd over here and there, but.
Yeah. And what's the forecast like? Do you know? Any idea if it's going to get washed out? Because it's not the best time of year to be playing Test cricket,
mate. I don't know if you guys saw the flooding and the rain in New Zealand last week. It was intense.
Yeah, it was
unbelievable. Half of Auckland City's like flooded, and there's holes appearing everywhere. And
really?
All sorts, yeah, mate. Really? It was really intense.
Is it normally wet this time of year over there?
No. I would say it was starting to just get into summer. The seasons have shifted everywhere, haven't they? I mean, we talk about it over here that summer doesn't really start until sort of July.
Yeah, it's getting later every year.
It's definitely getting later. So I would say New Zealand, your best months are February and March.
Right.
Not sure what the weather forecast is this week, though.
Yeah.
Won't make a difference. New Zealand will beat them.
Fair enough.
It's going to be tough without Ross Taylor. Very tough.
Well, let's fingers crossed we hopefully don't get it washed out again. But it was a really good Test match up until then, so it might shape up to be a good series.
Yep, absolutely.
Cool. Right. Well, all right then. Let's move on. This week, Marty is going to be the quizmaster. So I have no idea what's in store here, but over to you, mate.
Thank you, Joe. I have potentially made this too complicated for us, but I had great plans.
1884.
No, I haven't. I've kept everything mostly this side of the war. Okay. So
when was the war?
I'll give you 4 options, okay? Multiple choice. What is Sachin Tendulkar's middle name? Is it 1, Rohan, 2, Rahul, 3, Ravi, or 4, Ramesh?
Probably all of them.
That wasn't an option.
Mate, that's...
So I'll go through again. Rohan, Rahul, Ravi, Ramesh.
Oh, Ramesh?
Correct.
Well
done.
No. Outstanding. There you go, Sachin. We love you out there, India.
All right, over to Ed. All right, so back in the year 2000, so not too long ago, Wisden came up with their list of cricketers of the 20th century. No surprise that Don Bradman was number 1. Who was number 2? Was it 1, Shane Warne? Was it 2, Viv Richards? Was it 3, Garfield Sobers? Or was it 4, Sachin Tendulkar?
I'm pretty sure it was Warne.
Warne?
Warne.
No.
Sobers, wasn't it?
It was Sobers.
Sobers.
Yep. So this one here was a poll of like 100 different cricket writers and players.
Well, they
and so
picked
forth.
the top 5 cricketers of the century, I think.
Well, it was, but it wasn't just their
did.
best players. It was the ones who I think the most big cricketers, so it could have been their contribution to the game and so forth.
Oh, really?
So you had some interesting ones like Ian Chappell on the list and so forth because of what he did in regard to players and so forth. So Don Bradman got 100 out of 100.
Yeah.
Out of the 100 votes, but Garfield Sobers got 90.
Yeah.
Which is really impressive.
And then there was a big drop, I think.
There was, I think it was, who was next? I think it was Hobbs. Got 30.
Hobbs, Richards, and then Warner.
Warner got 27 and then Richards on 25.
Well, Martin Crowe was in the top 10, wasn't he? I'm pretty confident.
Pretty confident?
Yeah.
We'll check for next time.
Gotta be, or maybe it was Hadley. Maybe I'm thinking Hadley.
Hadley was definitely
Hadley must have
Hadley
been
was
up there,
definitely
yeah.
there.
Yeah, that's good. Just dropping it in.
Yeah. It's all right. You can fly the flag every now and again. That's fine.
So, Ed, that was a 0.
How many English compared to New Zealanders?
There've been a few. There've been Hobbs.
Who's that?
Hutton, maybe? No.
Oh, let's get to WG Gray. Oh, no, he wasn't.
Grace.
Ken
Well, might have
Barrington?
been. He was playing
Might
up
have
to
been,
that. Yeah.
Sydney Barnes, probably.
Kevin Peterson?
I doubt it.
Yeah.
before his time. All right, so here we are. So many of you would have read that this year is the 40th anniversary of the Centenary Test, Joe. That was
Yes.
played at the MCG in 1977.
Yeah.
Who was the player of the Centenary Test? Was it 1, Derek Randall, 2, Greg Chappell, 3, Bob Willis, or 4, Dennis Lilly?
Randall got 100, didn't he? I think he might have got 100 in a losing cause and got given man of the
That's
match.
incredible you know that, Joe.
That's your answer?
Yeah.
And you are spot on.
Wow.
That's very impressive.
We're never going to beat Joe.
What did he get? No, he scored 174 in the second innings.
Yeah, and they lost.
So I think in that one there, like Australia got bowled out for about 130 in the first innings, and England sort of struggled a bit to 95. So I'm guessing the pitch
Really?
must have been doing a bit.
Wow.
But then Australia came out with a pretty decent second innings score. And you know the interesting fact about this? I'm sure you do.
I do, yeah. It was exactly the same result as the first game 100 years before.
Yeah, 45 runs.
45
exactly
run
the same.
defeat, yeah.
Just amazing.
These guys have got too much time on their hands.
Just a little bit.
Move on. There is some news in the England North and the South teams. So they've put together 2 squads. And I think, Ed, am I right in saying it's put together by which county you play for rather than where you're
No.
from?
So it was initially a few of the players on either side. It was the top players in North and South on that MVP league they run.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why people like Bresnan got in there, and
That's
slightly
right,
older
yeah.
players. And then the rest of them were sort of coaches' choice of the best, what they think are the best youngsters.
And who they wanted to look at. And
Well, the youngsters.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that's how it's been made up. But yeah, I'm sort of crept up on me. I remember we mentioned it briefly a few weeks ago, but yeah, I'm quite looking. I don't know if we'll be able to see it. I don't think it'll be on Sky, I presume, but
Might be.
I'm sure some highlights will be.
There are 2 other test matches going on this weekend, but yeah, I'm sure there'll be.
Oh no, it's
highlights.
live on Sky Sports too.
Oh, there you go.
Brilliant.
Oh no, that's India Australia. That's,
Brilliant.
yeah. So yeah.
Technical expertise comes to the fore again. So within the squads, then I know there's, like you said, there's some older guys like Breslin, who was obviously magnificent last year for Yorkshire, but he's not going to be anywhere near the England contention anymore. You wouldn't have thought. But who are the guys that England are really going to have their eye on?
Well, I mean, the main guy's Mark Wood.
Yeah.
I mean, but I think more to see his fitness, because if he's fit, he plays for me in the Champions Trophy, straight in the team.
So he's in because
So
they're presumably going to bring David Willie into that side, and Plunkett played well as well.
Plunkett.
So would he? Mind you, Finn was in there as well.
Finn did well, and didn't he, towards the end?
Yeah.
And then I'd have Broad in there as well. Then you got Wood. I mean, we got.
So you drop Willie, Plunkett, and Finn.
I mean, you could go, if you really wanted to go, you could go Broad, Wood, and Plunkett.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a good seam bowling attack. Then it depends if.
But then there's Wokes.
What
as
about
well.
Wokes?
Yeah.
Of course, yeah, Wokes.
You
Oh
can't-
yeah, Wokes
I
is
don't-
nailed on.
You
Yeah.
can't drop Wokes now, especially in England. I don't think. I mean, they're not going to play Broad, are they? So, I
So
guess that's-
maybe if it's not spinning pitch in England, they might drop Rashid.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
And then you've got Root as your extra spinner, so you play 5 seamers, and you got Stokes, of course, as well.
Yeah. Well, he's
about
basically their
5.
6th bowler, isn't he?
Yeah.
Is that to accommodate Broad?
No. I mean, no. I'd have personally. I just my view is that I'd have Broad in the side for sure.
But they won't. No, they won't pick. They've obviously made a decision. He's a Test match only guy now. But they've still got Stokes. So they'll have Stokes and Ali, and then definitely Wokes, and then they'll want 3 of the seamers.
And Wood will
So
definitely be in there.
if they're not going to have Rashid, which they'll probably still like to have Rashid at home, don't they? But you've also got Plunkett, Wood, Willie, Finn, and Rashid all going for those last.
How do those 3
spots.
wickets play? Are they generally seamers or?
Well, Cardiff turns quite a bit, doesn't
Cardiff
it? So-
turns. Oval will be flat, I think. I think there'll be some big scores in the Oval
Yeah,
games.
and same at Edgbaston. So
Yeah.
you might want to, like Root can bowl those sort of round the wicket darts, kind of round arm darts, can't he, and things. So you could make up your overs like that. But if you got Stokes as your 5th or 6th bowler, you should be all right, really, shouldn't you? I mean,
Yeah.
In theory, yeah, but they certainly seem desperate to have 6 kind of proper bowlers. It just seems to be their way at the moment. They don't like chancing it. But I think a lot of that is down to the lack of trust in Rashid actually in recent times.
Yeah.
And if he's not playing, then I guess that's not there. But yeah, I think it might be quite interesting, this North versus South.
I mean,
It'd be
there's a
good.
few. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing. Well, I don't even see it, but Mason Crane, who just played for was it Victoria?
New South Wales he was playing for. Yeah.
Toby Rowland-Jones is in the squad as well. I know he's probably not going to be anywhere near the one-day side.
No, him and Gronewold have got in as the sort of established players. Obviously Wood. I mean, the best young batter I've seen is Joe Clark at Worcester. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does.
Right.
He's also a wicketkeeper. We're very blessed in that.
Yeah, there seems to be loads of them. He had a really good start last year, didn't he? And then dropped off a bit.
He still got about 600-700s.
Did he?
Last
Really?
year? I mean, he looked, from what I've seen, I saw a bit on Sky and saw a lot of highlights on the ECB channel of the, the county cricket days and things. And regardless of the fact he's a wicketkeeper, he looked great, young.
Is he
really,
batting
batter?
At number 7, like wicketkeeper?
No, he's batting high. He's batting about 4 or 5.
Oh, really?
Wow. So if slightly left field for the test, even because he did it really in 4-day cricket.
Right.
Like if they don't want to play Butler,
Yeah, they could drop Bairstow down or put him at 7. Or
yeah, and this would be my opinion. This would be my guy to come in for that. So him and Mason Crane, I'm really looking forward to seeing. The other guy I wish was in there was Benny Howell from Gloucester, who bowled all those knuckleballs and got all. By far the top 2020. I know it's 2020, but just as a left field choice, somebody different to look at, who's obviously. He's gone away and thought out the box and come up with these sort of baseball deliveries.
amazing.
Yeah.
Things, They sort of come right out the front.
How does he even do that? I mean,
I have no idea.
He went away and he said he was a big baseball fan and went and sought out.
it's obviously so different, though, isn't it? I mean, that's a...
No, because I think the thing is you got to hold it like really far back and quite tightly in your hand, but then your arm comes over with the same velocity, so that's the deceiving point. But obviously the ball comes out a lot slower.
You just kind of
Okay.
You just kind of squeeze
So
it
like
out.
a real
I
front
think.
of the hands,
Yeah.
like a.
I mean, is there any danger with doing that you end up chucking the ball? I mean, it's a little bit like when you watch some of those subcontinents, especially some of those Sri Lankan spinners.
Yeah.
Who have been their actions have been questioned. Often that's why.
I don't know, I
They
think-
are doing that, aren't they?
There was no hint of
I
that.
think the
wasn't?
idea is it's your normal action. I think that's why they're so kind of innovative, because they're so hard to kind of see. You're bowling it just straight out the front, and it just sort of pops out the front, but it's obviously way slower. But even your wrist is in the same position, your fingers are in the same position, so it's really hard to read. It just comes at you much slower. So
Is he a spin bowler or
No, he's a seamer.
He's a seamer.
No, it's seamer, yeah.
So he probably bowls. His stock delivery is probably late 70s, maybe gets up to 80.
Right.
But he completely bamboozled everybody,
Yeah, right.
and he was by far the top NatWest Blast T20 wicket taker last year. So somebody's for left seat. I'd quite like to have seen him been given a go and see what it was, if he could translate into 50 overs or whether he's just a 2020 guy. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see who puts the hand up. Yeah.
we'll see. Yeah, I mean, there's still the odd place. I mean, it's quite England are in a privileged position at the moment where I don't think there's too many spots available in any format. But to
and
have this
Duckett's
much
in this as well.
Oh yeah,
So
Duckett's
he
playing.
does
That'd be
something,
interesting. But there's still some good players coming through, so it'd be interesting to see which ones sort of rise to the top. And presumably the idea is that they're playing at a higher standard because they're playing the best players together, and whoever shines in this, I guess, is right at the top of that list. So,
But it was quite interesting to hear that Mason Crane is playing in that, given that New South Wales still have, was it one more game and they've still got a chance of making the Shield final. I guess if you're right, it gives them a chance of being perhaps selected for England.
Yeah,
But,
well, that's the idea.
It's a
isn't
big
it? Yeah.
call, I think, to leave it right at the end of the Shield season.
I guess
given
so. I
he's
mean,
been there.
it's very much an England-run thing. I mean, Otis Gibson and Paul Farbrace are the two coaches of either side, who are both the England assistants. So it's basically it is very much almost like an England, I guess, like an England training camp in waiting, if you like, outside the squad. So yeah, I suppose it's. I guess it's a little bit like the Lions thing. They're just doing it in a different format. To
Clearly
shake
need
it up.
another spinner, don't they? So if you're going to punt on
They've got Graham. They like Graham White, so he's in. He's
He's
been
there,
out
isn't
of
he?
the lines.
Liam
He's
Dawson's
done
there
all
as well, isn't he?
Well, I think Liam Dawson will be in the Champions Trophy squad anyway, so
Yeah.
I think he's probably in. They seem to like him, don't they?
What's happened to Ansari?
I don't know actually.
He started off. He played the first little bit in Bang. He just didn't look good, did he? When he played, I mean,
Yeah.
But and has he been ridden off, or is he still?
yeah. Well, I think he's a good upper order batter for Surrey. He's like a part-time-ish bowler, so
Like an Ali type.
yeah, they want to stick. They want to get proper. You need proper spinners, don't you?
Yeah.
He remember was it Bangladesh or India? He played one and it just kept. He couldn't
It was
really land it.
India,
properly,
I think,
could he?
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I can't remember now. Actually, it was one. Yeah, it was one of them. But he didn't get anywhere
not
near the right level. Yeah.
No, I think it was Bangladesh, wasn't it? They took Bucket. Brilliant.
Ben Duckett.
Duckett. And sorry to Bangladesh. Apologies.
Yeah. So we'll see anyway. See if anyone comes through that's might get his potential for the England squad. There's some other news from around the world as well that probably needs touching on. I don't know much about what's happening with the investigation into match fixing now. I know Mohamed Irfan, is that right? Has just been, I think, suspended by the PCB. The details are a bit thin at the moment, but as another guy's been called up in it. It just seems to be every fortnight, doesn't it?
Suspended by the BCB or
by the PCB?
PCB.
Because he's under 2 investigations for anti-corruption. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So
yeah. I mean, like we said before the podcast, actually, we don't know if it's something he's done or something that he hasn't done, if you like. But
I thought I did read that was more for him not reporting things.
Yeah, that is often the case, I think. But
not reporting approaches, but obviously, there's. I guess you could, I think, as Ed may very well say, there's no smoke with that fire.
It looks like it's rife in that tournament. As it suddenly
it does. It's a shame. It's
just like the bookies have got their talent into it, isn't it?
I mean, it does sort of, I guess, almost like appear that often the players who play over there are more susceptible to it. Potentially because they're not earning the wages that you might be earning other places. Yeah.
Well,
which again shows perhaps even the New Zealand example of why that was with some of those players. The Lou Vincents and so forth. I don't know why Chris Cairns got dragged into it, but if they weren't earning the kind of wage,
allegedly got dragged into it.
Well, allegedly got dragged in, but I mean, it's
he is Mr. X.
But you can't. I mean, you can't. Apart from his quiet boy looks, you can't really imagine Joe Root ever getting caught up in it because he's earning millions.
Yeah. Well, it's just not worth the risk, and it's fortunate. And the Aussie players are the same. Their central contracts are worth loads, aren't they?
Well, the central contracts are, yeah. I mean, the state.
It's how these franchises got set up. I bet you, there's bookies putting money into these franchises, and it's all because
to get control over certain players.
So they get access to the players. That's how it's suddenly started out, and it's not that you're never going to get a bookie putting money into Middlesex or whatever. Right? It's just it's so far past that over here, but. I bet there'll be new franchises and there'll be some suspicious characters, shall we say?
I mean, you say that with Middlesex and so forth, but
their sponsors are a lot of gambling firms.
They do, and I always think the state, that the first class in Australia is always susceptible to it. Those guys aren't on huge wages. I mean, they're not because there's not enough money in the state.
It's happening in county cricket because it was only 2 years ago where someone got the Pakistani fella.
Yeah,
Canaria.
Yeah. So I think there's probably a direct correlation. Between the amount that these guys are earning and their susceptibility to...
You said last year, Joe, you went to that 2020 game at Lords and you rocked into the sort of players area and there are all these gambling...
Well, I mean... I think it's just a couple of big sponsors of gambling firms, but they're obviously so confident that it's not an issue now, then it's allowed in British... But, it's almost... People are so suspicious within cricket and I guess other sports now as well. Why would you... why do so many gambling or sports betting companies have big sponsorship deals with clubs? It's just a bit. It's just there's no way. I'm sure anything's happening at county clubs that are sponsored by that. And I imagine they sponsor England and all sorts. But it just seems a bit weird, doesn't it? Like why would you? All those people are going to be in the boxes around in the players' bar and all that kind of thing.
Well, you say that, but I mean, it's probably not going to be the major sporting outlets that are doing it, is it? It's going to be the underground sporting.
Well, I suppose it's
which is probably what's happening over in the subcontinent in Pakistan. Yeah, it's going to be the.
Well, it's illegal. I mean, that's
illegal.
The thing,
so it is the underground betting where it's not regulated.
Yeah,
and it's it's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know what. It's such a conundrum over there as to what to do with it, but anyway, we'll see. One last thing before we go, there was some new rules that came out last week with the MCC. They finally finalised some extra sort of laws, should I say, not rules, that they've been talking about for quite a while. One of which is bat sizes. So I just wanted to get people's thoughts on this. I personally have been asking. Well, I've been waiting for it for quite a while because it annoys me as a very average ex-bowler. Annoys me that. You see batsmen miss-hitting it for 6 and coming off the leading edges and all that kind of stuff, and I think it just makes it a bit of a shambles. The bats are better anyway. You don't knock them in anymore, and they're softer. They ping off more than they ever used to. So this is a good thing, isn't it?
The thing that more concerns me is the boundary sizes. I don't mind
added to both.
Yeah, I don't mind obviously having, they're good bats, and if they good player generally hits a good shot, and it goes for 6, then fair enough. But sometimes they bring them in so far, it kind of just devalues it to me a little bit.
I agree.
It should be a pretty clean strike if you want to hit a 6.
Well, that's exactly. I was just about to say that.
I'd prefer them to go down the route of having a minimum boundary size rather than. I'm not too fussed about the bats, but you've got to draw a line
tell you the
somewhere
amount
with
of
the bats
times
as well,
my girlfriend has told me it's ridiculous that the boundary sizes aren't the same. She's going to love this, but yeah, I mean, but yeah, it's
dangerous, Joe.
What I was going to say before is the fact that's the most annoying thing. If miss hits are going for 6 and the boundaries are in 20 yards. Yeah. I suppose if they were sailing over the ropes, if the boundaries are out, then the bat sizes are a thing. But they seem to be cutting the bat sizes down to do one thing, and yet not doing. Presumably, I haven't heard anything, but they're not doing anything about the boundary ropes being in or out or whatever.
I'd be surprised if it makes much of a difference. I mean, just think about purely the players' strength and conditioning programs these days. They're so much stronger than they've ever been.
They're different athletes,
They're just completely different athletes. I mean, I saw Paul Collingwood talking the other day about how they're actually going to have to start wearing helmets when they're throwing down to these guys because they just smoke it.
Really?
Guys like Jason Roy in the gym are just freaks.
Yeah.
So the bat size isn't going to make too much of a difference. And if you think back, well, I don't think it is anyway. If you think back to, when Chris Gale, I think it was at a World Cup here or something like that, I can't remember. Chris Gale was absolutely smoking these 6s. He hit Brett Lee about 120, 130 metres. I don't think you'll find his bat was particularly big. He's just a big, strong guy and who is on a hugely different strength and conditioning program to what's ever been seen before in cricket. So whether or not it's going to make a difference, I personally don't think it will.
What's the reason for the boundaries being in?
Well, it seems to be, obviously there's a bare minimum size, but I guess at any particular time it's at the discretion of the host venue, isn't it? And they should make the minimum sizes bigger for me because...
absolutely.
Yeah, sometimes they're... Especially straight as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to some Surrey games especially in the early days of the T20 and not the early days of T20, but the early days of the season, where the boundaries have been so ridiculously short, it's embarrassing.
Yeah,
they could just basically block it for doing goes for 4.
If they're trying to make room, I was watching a game, I think it was T20 last year that they said one of the reasons for them maybe being in is because they've got those sort of flamethrower type things on the. On the side where if you hit a 6, they just chuck out.
Yeah, you got to put on the dancers too.
They're not allowed, apparently, players to be anywhere close enough to them, even not so that right next to the boundary, but even if they were to fall on them or fall backwards or run into them or whatever,
Yeah.
So they've got to be out of their way, which is fine. But I mean, it still doesn't allow for 25 yards or 25 meters.
You can't affect the game because you want to have some flame.
Exactly.
Madness.
No, mate, come up with some better fireworks.
It'll be the dancers.
It's
It's the dancers. They've got to squeeze the dancers
cheerleaders.
onto their cheerleaders, and the Sky Sports commentary team's got to get in their booth on the.
That's true.
On the sideline. It's all important stuff.
You
got to think about it.
I think the one point that's probably valid with the bats, and whether it's I shouldn't say whether it's necessarily the bats, but the danger is probably the umpires. When you got some 60-year-old blokes out there,
Definitely, yeah.
Who are standing 25 yards away.
That's why Oxenford's got his new...
the shield.
Well, yeah. I don't know how quickly his reaction time is.
Like Mr. Miyagi waxing on that.
Well, I think with DRS as well, they'll get almost a little bit more leeway. They need to stand further back because one of them is going to get whacked.
I think so. I think that's maybe what, we often whinge these days about, the umpires not picking up on no balls. But I think that's probably why. They're probably so concerned about watching where the ball is rather than sort of looking down and looking up. I mean, if you got Roy and he's, Gale. I mean, imagine standing 22 yards away from Gale when he smacks one straight back at you. Well, especially when he's standing a metre outside.
My reactions aren't that good to get out of the way of that, let alone a 70-year-old man. It's not ideal for them, is it?
Whose bats specifically? I mean, the obvious is David Warner because you've seen photos of his bats, which is just freakish. But who's in particular is there?
It's a general thing, I think.
I think it's just a general, just trying to stop it before it gets out of hand, I guess. But
they must believe it because guys like Ricky Ponting and stuff are in there as well, sort of advocating for it too, weren't they?
Yeah.
Maybe he just doesn't want his records to be.
Exactly. I think ex-batsmen are just getting annoyed when they see misses flying for 6.
Yeah.
They're like, I would have been out in my day.
Did you see my pull shot, mate?
Yeah. So anyway, we'll see how it unfolds. But I agree with that. Actually, I think the boundaries need to get sorted.
It's an interesting point. It's a very interesting point.
Anything matters with the bats, but anyway, we'll see how it all unfolds. And I think that's just about it from us here this week. Thanks everybody for listening. As always, we'd like to get everybody's thoughts. As I said before, we're on Twitter @CricketPod is the place to find us there. And please look us up on the SoundCloud or iTunes, and you can subscribe to us every week. But for this week, that's it. Thanks, Cheese.
Thanks, Joe.
Cheers, Ed. See you, Maddie.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.